2024, and if there's one force in sports who absolutely has to be mentioned, of course, it's Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
So this year, third MVP award. He signed what at the time was the biggest contract in sports history. Now
Even though he's not getting any of it now.
Right.
What a loophole.
He'll get it in like 2060.
By the way, worth every penny.
Yeah.
Can I say of $700 million?
No
and he gets the first World Series ring. I mean, when you
Unreal.
think about it's getting difficult, right, to come up with the right kinds of adjectives to describe his greatness. But for you, when you think about Ohtani, Bill, what comes to mind?
How fortunate he was to escape that scandal at the beginning of the year with the gambling scandal. That was a deal killer for Major League Baseball. And I was thinking, this could be it. How he came out of that smelling like a rose.
All indications are he was uninvolved, right? And it was his translator, David Sahara.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
What do we really know?
It disappeared. All we know is that it disappeared.
Yeah.
And this guy became the fall guy. And I'm glad he had a great season. He's a great talent, very unique batting stance and all that. But you asked me what I thought. I said, man, this could wreck. This could wreck his career. This could wreck Major League Baseball. It was awful.
But to be clear, there is no evidence that he was participating.
Correct. But do you not find it at all strange that this interpreter was funneling this much money away from Shohei? Now, I can say that Shohei didn't know, but you're telling me an agent didn't know? You're telling me his tax attorney didn't know? You're telling me his marketing guy didn't know? That all of this money was going away? I find that a little peculiar. I find that a little peculiar.
Yeah.
Can I move a little bit away from this? When you say that it would have been impactful for Major League Baseball, I mean, that's an understatement. This guy is everything in Major League Baseball. He has made baseball must-see TV. He has somehow taken a legendary franchise and made it better and expanded the fan base. And you have Japanese companies who were like buying signage at Dodger Stadium. It was the highest rated World Series ever in Japan. What he has done is do something that no one in our lifetime, we have never seen a two-way player like this. We have never seen the likes of the 50-50 season. We have never seen someone who pitches. Is he going to pitch next year? You know what? And
even if he doesn't.
Yes, and even if he doesn't.
They don't need him to. They got 5 aces.
But the thing that makes him so intriguing is exactly what you guys have been debating. It's the mystery around him.
We like a good story.
We don't know him. There was a frenzy to find out the name of his dog, for goodness sake.
Okay, that's a cry for help.
But that mystery, surrounding him, he's like this mythical figure. He makes baseball must-see TV. He has been so impactful in so many ways.
And as I mentioned, he has been surpassed as the highest paid athlete of all time, at least team sport athlete, now by Juan Soto.
Oh, my God.
And Soto leaving the Yankees after one season to go to the Mets.
Oh, man.
This is like, if you're a Mets fan, if you're a Yankees fan, your world's upside down, right?
This is awful. The Mets and the Jets.
Yankees fans are upside down because they haven't won a World Series since 2009. So this is just another thing.
Oh, when's the last time the Mets won a World Series? 1986.
Well, yeah,
but now with Soto, it's guaranteed.
To me, it doesn't change the balance of power yet in New York, because New York City is about a winner. The Yankees went to the World Series. They're winners. We know how long it's been for the Mets. But I will say this about Soto. The vibe, right? The Yankees are like this Fortune 500 company, right? It's really about the pinstripes. But Soto is now joining the Mets. OMG, right? All the fun and all of that surrounding the Mets. It'll be really interesting to see.
We're back here on MLB Tonight. Here are your stolen base leaders from this past season. Ellie De La Cruz leading the way with 67. Of course, Shohei Ohtani, 59 steals, also over 50 home runs. And this was the way we would measure in the old days how good of a base runner a player was. Not even getting into how many times the guy was caught. And then how good are you on the bases without getting into stolen bases. Obviously, there's metrics for that now, but StatCast is jumping in, and StatCast jumps in big on these things, putting together several measurements and then also cooking up a bunch of metrics as well, where you make a little stew for base running, especially in a base running era that we're now in with the new incentives and the new rules to incentivize base running. Mike Petriello joins us from MLB.com, does things for StatCast as well. Mike, pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me.
This is exciting. I want to go step by step. First of all, there's a specific metric. We're talking about, I think, 3 specific metrics here. Start with the base stealing metric, where to find out the real value of how often a guy steals and how often he gets caught.
Yeah, obviously StatCast can track a whole bunch of things, and what it really does a good job of is putting opportunity costs on each opportunity. So, for example, if you're a base runner, well, it's a very different chance based on who the pitcher is, who the catcher is, what they can do. And when you think about some of the big numbers we heard this last year with Ohtani, right? We heard 50-50. Well, you know, we never really heard in 50-50. How many times did he get thrown out on the bases? And that all matters. It actually matters more to get thrown out on the bases than it does to gain a base. And what this does is it takes those opportunities, it assigns a run value per base or base advanced or stolen base, and it outputs who is the best base runners in the game. And I think it's a really interesting way of looking at it, going beyond raw stolen base totals, which you just said.
You know, I didn't even have it memorized. He got caught 4 times. I thought that was right. I didn't want to say it at the top. So 59. When you see that, it's like Tim Raines in the old days. You see 59 stolen bases, 4 caught stealing. So what does that mean? If Elly De La Cruz was on top on the old-style stolen base, what does your new leaderboard say?
Well, it says that he had the most bases advanced, comparing advances to times thrown out in baseball, right? Plus 40. So what this is saying here is bases gained. He got 50. I know he had more stolen bases than that, but the average runner with his opportunities would have had some steals too. So that's why it's not as many as you'd think. But look at the column on the right. So he gains the most bases, sure, but he also gets thrown out a lot, which, Brian, echoes of his defense, right? A ton of errors, but also outs above average actually likes him.
Right.
Everything Elly De La Cruz does is loud. So he gains the most bases, but he gives back a lot of value. And what happens there is you put all that into the stew, and the most effective, the most valuable base runner this year was not Elly De La Cruz. It was Shohei Ohtani because of what you just said. He only got thrown out 4 times. And so by our model, that's 0 times above average. What that means is an average base runner in his opportunities would have been expected to be thrown out 4 times. That's what he did. So he really only gained the Dodgers value on the bases. He did not give back value. Elly De La Cruz did both. So we're getting beyond just how many times did you steal. It's what was the value. You put it onto a run basis. Shohei Ohtani, the most valuable, the most effective base runner this year.
But then you had 7 and 6. So that seems very close, right? Give me the perspective, the context of the numbers.
Yeah, it's really interesting you say that. The numbers are not that big. And this kind of goes back to, I think, a long-known sabermetric truism is that value on the bases is just not as much as people want it to be, right? We're talking about, you know, plus 7 or 8, and on the other end, just in terms of stolen bases, it's negative a couple runs. Meanwhile, if you're a great hitter, you can get, you know, plus 70 runs. Like, the value proposition is so different.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean base running doesn't matter. Like, it does matter, of course. But in terms of how much does it matter, it's really hard to be worth more than, let's say, a win, which is about 10 runs on the bases in the best seasons.
Mike, I remember a decade or 2 ago, I'm doing Hall of Fame research, and I kept having to dig deeper and deeper to find out extra bases taken percentage. I remember looking up that for Alan Trammell, right? Or, you know, how does he compare to Ricky Henderson? Actually quite well. And if the guy was up around 58%, that meant he was getting 58% of the extra bases taken successfully, which is very high. So what is StatCast doing? That's kind of like, it's not a hidden metric, but we know going from first to third, going from first to home, second to home, those are big things. What does your new metric say?
So we've had a version of that out for a while, just running the bases. And that's said for a while that Corbin Carroll was the best at that. What we've done now is we've taken value running the bases and value in stolen base attempts, and we've combined them into an overall base running leaderboard. And you combine them, and look, it's still Corbin Carroll by kind of a lot. And I think this would interest people because you just look at raw stolen base totals, right? You think of Ohtani, you think of Elly De La Cruz. My guess is most people would not say that Corbin Carroll is the most valuable runner in baseball. And for him, it's not that much about stolen bases. Like, he's good at it, certainly. But his value is added, like you said, first to third, second to home, first to home, and mostly in gaining gaining value and not giving back any value. Combine everything, he is the most valuable base runner in the game.
Look, I keep pointing this out, Mike, and you've heard it, but I keep saying this on every show I'm on. Think of the World Series when the Yankees are going base to base, and the Dodgers. Hey, that guy's on second. He should be on first. Hey, that guy hit a double. Somehow Ohtani's on third. They're always taking like this extra base or getting hit in. Guys are scoring from first base on doubles. You can see the value of it. All right. So speaking of Mookie Betts, you have Mookie Betts in another way that is shining. Again, kind of a hidden value. We can see it. We know it. This puts a number to it. Tell us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the most interesting things I've told people all year is that Mookie Betts is actually not an elite runner anymore in terms of speed. He has below average speed now, if you think about it. But there is one thing that he does unbelievably well every single year. And so what this is saying is lead distance gained. It's how much distance do you gain between the time that the pitcher starts his motion and lets go of the ball. And if you look at everyone back to 2016 who's had at least 500 chances, that's pitches, not plate appearances, look how many times Mookie Betts shows up on this leaderboard. I was tempted to go just delete Freddie Galvis from the database so that we could have Mookie Betts on the top every single year. And I think this aligns really well with what we know about him, right? You go back to the 2020 World Series where, set aside the Blake Snell decision, right? The story of that World Series was Mookie Betts going nuts on the bases against the Rays. And it was really interesting. I'd forgotten about this till this afternoon when our mutual friend Alex Spear pointed this out to me. A decade ago or more, when the Red Sox scouted Mookie Betts, one of the things that popped to them was the way his hand-eye coordination and his reactions were elite, and the numbers are still saying that, at least in terms of getting great jumps on the bases all these years later.
Again, for anybody thinking about this, and now this gets into the metrics, as it gets wonky, when you're watching the World Series and you go, wow, how'd they score that run? Wow, that guy scored very easily. He scored. This is telling you how that's all happening. Mike, we'll do this again, and we'll dig a little deeper because I want to get into base running value, honing things into one particular metric, which is, very valuable to know. Mike, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Brian.
All right, we'll step aside for a moment. When we come back, new Bellinger in town. Let's talk about the old Bellinger and how many father-sons have played for the Yankees. That's next.
ショウヘイ・オタニ選手は、私たちがこれまで見たことのないような偉業を達成し続けています。その存在は、単なる野球選手に止まらず、スポーツ全体を変革する象徴と言っても過言ではありません。彼のスキル、努力、そして絶え間ない進化への意欲は、世界中のファンに感動を与え、野球を新たな次元へと引き上げています。特に、彼の二刀流というユニークなスタイルは、野球史上誰も実現できなかったレベルのパフォーマンスを見せており、ピッチャーとしても、バッターとしても最高峰の実力を発揮しています。50本塁打、50盗塁という記録は、ただの数字以上の意味を持ち、ショウヘイ・オタニ選手がいかに特別な存在であるかを証明しています。これらの数字の背後には、計り知れない努力と犠牲、そして彼自身の情熱が隠されていることを私たちは知っています。また、彼の活躍はフィールド上だけに止まらず、野球そのものへの影響力も驚異的です。彼が所属するチームだけでなく、野球界全体が彼の存在に触発されており、日本国内はもちろん、アメリカ、アジア、そして世界中で野球人気が再燃しています。特に、日本では彼が出場する試合の視聴率が過去最高を記録し、さらには海外企業もスタジアムの広告スペースを積極的に購入するなど、経済的な効果も計り知れません。ショウヘイ・オタニという一人の選手が、スポーツの枠を超えた現象となっているのです。そして、彼の成功の背後には、彼自身の才能だけでなく、チーム全体の支えが大きく影響しています。彼の周囲には、同じ目標を共有するチームメイト、最高のプレーを引き出すコーチ陣、そして彼を支えるファンたちがいます。このような団結力と協力は、スポーツだけでなく、私たちの日常生活においても重要な教訓となります。一人では何もできない。しかしチーム全体が一つになるとき、大きな力を発揮できるというメッセージは、 すべての人々にとって響くものです。さらに、翔平大谷選手には謎めいた魅力もあります。彼のグラウンド外での生活や個性に関心を持つファンが増え続けており、例えば彼の愛犬の名前を知りたいという話題が広がるほど、彼の存在そのものが人々を引きつけています。このようなエピソードは、彼が単なるスポーツスターではなく、親しみやすく、同時に神秘的な現代のヒーローであることを証明しています。彼が歩んできた道には、もちろん困難もありました。今年の初めに起きた金銭トラブルのスキャンダルでは、一時的にそのキャリアが危ぶまれるほどの危機に直面しました。しかし、彼はその困難を乗り越え、さらに高みへと進む姿を見せてくれました。このような逆境に強い姿勢は、多くの人々に勇気を与えています。困難を乗り越えたその先には、必ず光が待っているという教訓を、翔平選手は私たちに教えてくれています。これからのシーズンで、彼がどのような新しい歴史を刻むのか、期待に胸を膨らませずにはいられません。ピッチャーとして再びマウンドに立つのか、それともさらなる打撃記録を更新するのか、彼の次なる一手がどのようなものになるのか、私たち全員が楽しみにしています。そして彼の成功がこれからの若い選手たちやスポーツ界全体にどれほど大きな影響を与えるのか、その未来を見守りたいと思います。最後に、この動画を見てくださった皆さんにお願いです。翔平大谷選手の活躍をさらに多くの人に知ってもらうために、この動画をいいねして、ぜひ友達や家族とシェアしてください。そして、私たちのチャンネルを登録して、今後の最新ニュースや試合のハイライトを一緒に楽しみましょう。コメント欄には、皆さんの感想や応援メッセージをぜひお寄せください。翔平選手に対する熱い思いを共有しましょう。それでは、次回の動画でまたお会いしましょう。翔平大谷選手と共に、野球という素晴らしいスポーツをさらに盛り上げていきましょう。